Good morning, YouTube. Hope everybody is doing well. Just wanted to come on this morning as we do every Saturday morning. I'm about an hour ahead of time this morning because I have some other things to do. But we will get started momentarily. I'm just waiting on Facebook to join us. So I'm currently going live on Facebook as well. But today we're going to talk about comparison. We've been doing the series on getting refocused. And so part of what may cause us to get off track or not be as focused is sometimes we can be focused on the wrong things that end up hurting us more than pushing us ahead to that next step. So I definitely hope everybody is doing well and you're able to get something out of today. And it's about 9 o'clock. I tried to schedule the live on Facebook just as I do on YouTube. I don't really know where to go back to find it. So it'll take me just a moment to find that. It's definitely 9 o'clock. Let's see. I wonder if I need some more light on Facebook. Give me 1 second. Okay, maybe. All right, let's see. Okay, Facebook is coming along. All right, good morning. Good morning. We are now live on Facebook. I have YouTube over on this side joining me this morning. So I know that I am about an hour ahead of schedule. I think I said during the last live video last Saturday that I would be on at 9 today because I actually have actually have to work. So I have a client at 10 o'clock. So here we are. Today we will be discussing comparison. So I know that we have been talking a lot about getting refocused, which that stemmed from January, a sermon that I heard at my church that got me on the path of getting refocused. Um, so, one of the things that can sometimes cause us to lose focus is focusing on the wrong things. And sometimes it becomes easy to use comparison almost as a measuring stick of our own progress or success. But that can typically, sometimes that can lead us down the wrong road, comparing ourselves to what others are doing. So I got up this morning. Y'all, I got my journal that I showed you last week. God goes growing and glowing. There we go. God goes growing and glowing. So got up this morning, spent time with God, just praying and things like that. So I did write down some notes to kind of keep me good with time. Again, this video will probably be longer, a little bit longer than the others. So I hope that you can find time in your day to watch it and to listen to it, and let me know what you think. Let me know if anything kind of stuck out to you, or is something that you feel like you could use. Because I always want to make sure that I'm helping and I am encouraging. Good morning, Charlie. So we are just now getting started, talking about comparison. So we know that, or maybe we don't know, but a lot of times the root of comparison is insecurity. When we use comparison as a measuring stick of our own progress, there is something that we are unsure about within ourselves, right? And when we think about insecurities, insecurities need validation. Insecurities need validation. So, um, insecurities, insecurities could look like being unsure of yourself. Um, Hi, Kanika. Good morning. So, yeah, so insecurities could look like being unsure of yourself. Insecurities could result in a lack of foundation. Um, it can cause you to place values in things and in people that are not guaranteed and are not permanent in your life, right? So if you think about it, some of the things that people use to validate themselves are things like what kind of car you have, how much money you have in the bank, your relationship status, not to even mention social media. That's a huge topic right now in terms of, and it has been, it's not just right now, but it has been. Um, so when we think about social media, that's almost the easiest example of what insecurities can look like, right? So sometimes, not saying all people do this, sometimes people can post things, pictures or what have you, almost as a almost to check to see where they stand, right? So like it's almost like you can post something and then they go back and they look to see who liked it, how many people liked it, what the comments were, that kind of a thing. And I'm not talking about business. Let me just make that very clear. I am not talking about business, because with business, yes, you want to know what your customers think and your clients think and all of that. I'm talking about personal. So we're starting from within ourselves individually. Um, all of those things that I named are things that can be taken, right? So if you place your self value in uh, the type of car you drive, right? So say you have a luxury car, and you place your self value in that, if something goes wrong with that car, if that car breaks down on you, if you have to get another car to replace that one because you something happened to it, car accident, God forbid, whatever, you no longer have that car, right? But your self-value then goes along with that when it's taken. So that is the reason why it is so important for us to closely examine our insecurities and to make sure we are not attaching our self-value onto people or onto things that are not going to be permanent in our lives. A lot of times, the insecurities will result in you starting to compare yourself to what somebody else is doing, right? So you could be friends with somebody, even with sibling relationships and families. I see that a lot. Doing family therapy is where siblings have been compared all their life. Well, your brother's doing this, well, your sister's doing this, where that whole thing. And sometimes that can manifest into adulthood to where that person will constantly receive validation that they are on the right path when they compare themselves to the people who are around them, right? And you take a big gamble in doing that because those people are on their own path, right? Hopefully they're on a path that God laid before them and things like that. You are then attaching yourself to what they are doing. See, with God, it's all about it's about timing as well, right? So God may have you on one street, right? Because he has a plan for you. He has given you your own journey. He's made promises to you just like he's made promises to those other people. But if you are not in your own lane, on your own street, and you're constantly attaching yourself to the people around you, and you're constantly comparing yourself to where these other people are compared to where you are in life, you are missing out on the blessings that God has already lined up for you, right? God may have you in a particular position, in a particular place on your journey, for he has you there for a reason. There may be somebody that he needed you to run into so that you can witness to that person and possibly encourage that person and bring that person to him. You never know how God is trying to use you. That's just one of the dangers of trying to compare where you are to where other people are on their journeys. The other thing with comparison is, I don't know if you've ever heard that comparison, it robs you of joy, right? You can't have joy. And joy is not temporary happiness. Joy is that happiness that stays, right? It sticks and it stays. You may be going through something, but you're still able to feel joy. In other words, if you're comparing yourself to others or to somebody else, you don't truly have joy in here. Your happiness is going to be predicated upon where that person is in their life compared to where you are. You see how comparing yourself is dangerous to others. When you compare yourself to where somebody else is, you're then trying to take the control away from God, and you're putting that control in the comparison. Okay, so let me get back to my notes so I can get back on track, guys. So, pretty much, as I stated, you'll find that you will never completely be satisfied or happy because you're chasing an image and avoiding the deficiency that makes you insecure in the first place. So, instead of you being able to heal from whatever void or deficiency that may exist in your life, you're avoiding it. you're avoiding it because you're deciding to compare yourself to where somebody else is instead of you fixing what's going on here and then going on your own journey and your own path that God has laid before you. So, just as I do in all of the morning messages, this brought me to the Bible, of course. So, one of my favorite scriptures growing up was the woman at the well. Not knowing how this was going to play out in my adult and young adult life, right? So, for those who don't know, the woman at the well is in John, the fourth chapter. So, this is a conversation that Jesus is having with this woman, right? Who is at the well. The woman was a Samaritan. As we know, Jesus was Jewish. And so in those days, they didn't really talk like that. Like Samaritans and the Jews, they didn't really intermingle at that particular point in time. But we're talking about Jesus, so we know that he talks to everybody, right? Um, so anyway, in John 4th chapter, the 10th verse, right? So Jesus is having this conversation with this woman, and the 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 woman is in a space of being surprised, right? Because in verse 9 it says the woman was surprised, for Jews refused to have anything to do with Samaritans. So she pointed out to Jesus, she says, "You are a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. Why are you asking me for a drink?" They're at the well. In the 10th verse, Jesus replied and said, "If you only knew the gift God has for you and who you are speaking to, you would ask me and I would give you living water." If we skip down to verse 13, he also says, "Anyone who drinks this water will soon become thirsty again. But those who drink the water I will give, no, those who drink the water I give will never be thirsty again. It becomes a fresh, bubbling spring within them, giving them eternal life." So the reason why though that particular parable sticks out to me from the Bible is because when we attach our self-value to things and to people, once those things or those people run out or are removed from our lives, we are then scrambling and searching for something to fill that void. That that is what Jesus is talking about in this parable. So he's not really talking about water itself. What he's talking about, like when you read these verses, replace that living water with whatever void is that you have in your life, whatever insecurities you have in your life, and then read it again, right? So if I'm insecure because, let me just be transparent, okay? So I grew up in a two-parent household, okay? Mom and dad still together, married. It was me and my sister. And so, however, I became pregnant and twice, had two kids, was a single parent, and was not married or anything like that, right? So I had this void in my life because the way that I grew up was in a two-parent household. So I was constantly looking for someone to fill a void that I thought existed in my own family. It was myself and my two children at that time, right? So I would constantly date or try and date people, and would automatically in my mind would just put them in that position of being, okay, this is the man in our lives. Okay, now our family is complete. by doing that, I found myself constantly like the woman at the well. I found myself constantly going back to the well, going back to the well. Want to know why? Because every person that I was starting to run into, those people were not supposed to be there. I was attaching part of my self value with my relationship status. I was attaching part of my self value to whether or not I had a man. No, because I kept running into the same type of men over and over and over again. And I'm constantly going back to that well because I don't have the living water, right? That God gives us. I wasn't focusing on my relationship with God so that He could show me who my husband would be. I was using my own judgment. I was comparing myself to people who were around me. I had friends to get married and things like that. Meanwhile, I'm dealing with a domestic violence situation, right? As if dealing with that situation didn't make me feel devalued enough. I take it a step further and start to compare myself to people around me. Like, well, why am I not there? Right? What did I do that was so bad to where now I can't enjoy having a husband, being married, and making my family complete? I had the wrong mindset. I was too busy in other people on other people's street instead of walking out the path that God had laid before me. And that's just me being transparent so that you can understand how comparing yourself to other people is dangerous. It takes you completely off of the path that God has laid before you. So I hope that helps somebody because I was very transparent just then, but I don't want to use examples that people can't relate to. In other words. So let me get back to my notes. So when we talk about getting refocused, right, we need to make sure that we are only focused on our goals and not trying to attach ourselves to the journeys and goals and the blessings of others. God made promises to each and every last one of us. So let's focus on what He has for each one of us and not focus on why He's doing for others. Their race in life is not your race or your pace. He strategically places you exactly where you are for a reason. So, again, if you are so busy trying to keep up with others, you will miss it because you are in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, this morning, I also ran across a video clip which I shared to my story yesterday of DMX, right? So DMX is a rapper, of course, like during my time that I used to that I listened to, and I highly respect. One of the things that he said, as a matter of fact, I'm going to let him say it because I don't want to try to say it like he said it. But I'm going to play this and I hope you all can hear it.
Do for us until we're in a situation where only God can do it for us. God won't walk you to what He won't walk you through. He won't walk you to what He won't walk you through. And like I said earlier, God is the only one who can have a bad situation become a beautiful situation without ever changing the situation. The only thing, listen, the story has already been written. It speaks.
Okay. So the thing that stood out to me, he said a lot of stuff, But the thing that stood out to me was when he said that God is the only one that can have a bad situation become a beautiful situation without changing the situation. So, for example, with me, I went through a very abusive relationship, right? That's a bad situation. That's a horrible situation to go through. God has birthed purpose in that, right? So while it's an unfortunate situation, it is a traumatic situation, very scary situation. Some people don't make it through that type of situation, but today I'm able to work with people who have been victims of domestic abuse, right? That my experience of healing from that abusive relationship involved me going into therapy. And as a result of that, totally changed my career path to becoming a therapist who now works with people who have gone through or who are currently in abusive relationships and abusive situations. Only God can do that. Only God can do that. Only God. It was nothing that I did at all. Only God could have done that. So when you are facing situations, don't know how you got there, all you know is that you're there, right? People around you, it seems as if they might be doing well in life, right? We can't start to go to God and say, hey, God, I want the Sarah package, right? Which means she's doing well in her life. It looks like she's prospering and she's doing this and she's doing that. She's gaining this and she's gaining that. That's what I want. That is almost like telling God that whatever it is that He has for you, even though you may not be able, you probably don't even know what He has for you because you're so busy focused on what Sarah has, right? That's just like telling Him, whatever it is you have for me, I don't see it and I don't know what it is, but it's not good enough. I want what Sarah has. We can't do that. We can't do that because, as far as we know, Sarah might be going home every night to an abusive situation, or Sarah may be going home every night not feeling fulfilled and not being happy, right? We never know whether or not what we see is reality. In other words, it could be a facade for all that we know. But the thing is that whatever Sarah has, that is what Sarah has, right? The blessings that Sarah has are Sarah's blessings, not yours. So we have to get very clear on where it is God wants us to be. It's time out with us looking to the left and to the right to see what other people are doing, right? When it comes to comparison and using that as a measuring stick. Now, again, in business, that's something totally different. Totally different. When we're looking at ourselves and doing self reflection, we have to make sure that we are doing the things that God has ordained and anointed us to do, regardless of what everybody else is doing. So to pull that back into getting refocused, we've got to do the work in order to get refocused. And that also means us being very honest with ourselves about what are my insecurities, where are the voids in my life right now, and asking God, taking those things to Him when we go to Him in prayer and asking Him to take these things from us, right? Asking Him to fill those empty, those bare places for us. He will do it. Going back to the woman at the well, When you all read that scripture, I hope that you're able to read it through a different lens now. It is not just a story about Jesus talking to this woman at the well. This is an example of how he will work in your life. That thing that you crave, that thing that you want, that void that you may have in your life, give that all to him. And I'm telling you, he will not only fill your void, but he will overflow those areas that are lacking, those areas that are empty on E right now, those areas that are bare. He will not only fill them, but he will make you overflow in those areas, because that's just the type of God that we serve. All right. Again, I hope this helps somebody, because it helped me this morning as I was in prayer and as I was reading. It all helped me. One last point for me to make: in families, right? Sometimes, like I said before, we get compared to our siblings sometimes, right? And again, I see this a lot in doing family therapy. One thing that I want you to keep in mind, if that is you, if you have constantly been compared to other siblings in your family or other people in your family who may be doing different things, understand that you have your own place in your family. Think of the family as a puzzle, right? Each piece is crafted to fit together. You have your own unique qualities and your own unique personality that helps you to fit in with your family. If you start trying to mess with your personality, the way that you are, the way God has created you to be, you're messing with the shape of your puzzle piece, and you really won't feel as though you belong or you fit with your family, right? So understand that each family, you are part of that family for a reason. It is like I said, like a puzzle, a family, a puzzle. You are your own unique puzzle piece. All right. So I'm going to stop there. Um I hope that something that I have said has helped somebody. Even if you have to replay this, please do. And again, let me know if anything has helped you, or if you want to share anything in regards to comparison. Let me know that. You can inbox me, you can comment here, or whatever, however you would like to do that. Next week we will continue on this path of comparison, because comparison has different sides to it. So we'll continue to talk about comparison as it relates to getting refocused. I hope everybody has an awesome day. I hope everybody has a blessed day. And I hope everybody is able to do some self reflection so we can get refocused, stay in our lanes, stay on the road that God has laid before us, not somebody else's. All right. I love you guys, but always remember that God loves you more. Have an awesome, awesome day. I will see you next Saturday.